same cognitive patterns, 42 different species, same primate-level intelligence. For decades, we believed humans held the monopoly on complex thought. But a massive new breakthrough has shattered that illusion forever and changed how we see the entire world. Welcome to WildLeadTube, where we bring you animal intelligence verified. Science proves they are smarter than you think. And today, we are diving into a discovery that proves your backyard is actually home to some of Earth's greatest geniuses. You see them every day, yet you likely ignore the profound intelligence hiding in plain sight. I have the receipts to prove that your perception of the natural world is fundamentally outdated and based on myths we've told ourselves for centuries. This is not just a story about feathers and flight. It is a revelation about the very nature of consciousness itself. Stay with me, because by the end of this journey, you will never look at a bird the same way again. This isn't theory or folklore. This is rigorous, peer-reviewed mathematics and neurological mapping. Let me show you why the hierarchy of intelligence you were taught in school is fundamentally broken, and why the bird brain is actually a biological masterpiece. Think about your daily routine and how you solve complex problems. Now, imagine a creature with a brain the size of a nut performing the exact same cognitive leaps without any formal training or human-like cortical structures to guide them. Here is the first piece of evidence that will make you question everything you know. We've always categorized avian behavior as mere instinct, but the reality is far more complex, calculating, and surprisingly similar to our own human thought processes. Let me show you the hidden mechanism of the avian mind. It is a system built on extreme efficiency and social learning that rivals the most advanced primate societies on our planet today. And it is happening right above your head. What you're losing right now is the ability to see the world as it truly is. By underestimating these creatures, we are missing the most profound biological revolution of our century and ignoring the geniuses that share our very environment. Remember this specific number, 42. It represents a cognitive threshold that science once thought was impossible for non-primates to cross. We will return to why this specific count changes the entire conservation landscape and our place within it. I've linked the source in the description for you to verify. As we speak, these 42 species are utilizing tools and exhibiting meta-cognition in ways that were previously thought to be exclusive to the human lineage. The stakes for our understanding of life on Earth are absolutely massive and urgent. What makes this dangerous today is our own collective arrogance. We assume we are the only ones watching, but the evidence suggests that we are the ones being observed, analyzed, and even manipulated by the birds in our gardens. But here is where it gets interesting. To understand how we got here, we have to look back at the origins of avian research and the exact moment the first crack appeared in our human-centric view of the natural world. The journey began in isolated research stations, where scientists first noticed behaviors that didn't fit the bird brain stereotype. It started with simple observations of crows in urban environments, using human traffic patterns to solve their own survival problems. That number 42 I mentioned earlier, it wasn't found overnight. It took decades of tracking social structures and problem-solving patterns across 6 continents to finally identify the elite cognitive group that rules the skies with primate-level brilliance. According to a landmark study published in the Nature journal, the neural density in certain bird species is actually higher than in many mammals. I've linked the full source in the description for you to verify these shocking findings yourself. The Nature Journal report highlights that the pallium in birds functions similarly to the prefrontal cortex in humans. This allows for high-level executive functions that were once deemed biologically impossible for creatures with such small, lightweight physical frames. This data reveals that size doesn't dictate intelligence, connectivity does. The research proves that these 42 species possess the hardware for complex thought, tool manipulation, and even long-term strategic planning that rivals our closest primate relatives in the wild. The cost of not knowing this is a failure to protect the most intelligent non-human minds on Earth. While we were looking for intelligence in the stars, it was thriving in our trees, evolving alongside us for millions of years. Keep this in mind: the New Caledonian crow. It is currently the gold standard for avian tool use, but it is just one of the 42 species identified in this breakthrough research that is changing the face of biology. These birds don't just use tools. They manufacture them with specific intent. They select materials, shape them into hooks, and store them for future use, showing a clear, calculated understanding of cause and effect that few animals possess. Think about the level of foresight required to create a tool today for a problem you anticipate tomorrow. This is the definition of complex problem-solving that rivals primates and challenges our unique status as the world's primary toolmakers. Here's the first major reveal. These birds have been observed teaching these complex skills to their offspring, creating a form of non-human culture that persists across generations without any genetic coding for the specific behaviors being taught. Let me show you the evidence. We've spent centuries dismissing these actions as simple mimicry. But when you look at the data, you see a deliberate choice being made by an individual mind seeking a specific, calculated outcome in a rapidly changing and dangerous environment. The origin of this intelligence isn't a fluke of evolution. It is a refined survival strategy that has been perfected over millions of years, hidden right under our very noses while we focused on larger, more obvious mammalian species. By the time most people realize the depth of this intelligence, the habitats these geniuses require may already be gone. This is why the research from Nature Journal is so critical for our immediate conservation efforts and policies. Sound familiar? It should. We've seen this pattern of discovery before, where we slowly realize that the others are much more like us than we ever dared to imagine or admit in our traditional scientific textbooks. Same warning, same dismissal, same collapse of our old scientific paradigms. The hierarchy of life is falling, and the birds are the ones leading the charge into a new era of biological understanding and cognitive research. Let's look at the first pattern proof. In the urban jungles of Japan, carrion crows have learned to use human technology to crack nuts that their own beaks cannot penetrate, showing a level of ingenuity that is truly staggering. They place the nuts in front of cars at red lights, wait for the vehicles to crush the shells, and then retrieve the food when the light turns red again for the pedestrians, ensuring their own safety. This isn't just luck. It's a multi-step logical process involving timing, risk assessment, and the exploitation of a completely foreign species' behavior. It is a masterclass in cognitive flexibility and environmental adaptation that few humans could replicate. Here's the discovery reward. Researchers found that if a car misses the nut, the crow will actually move it slightly to ensure the next tire hits the target. That is intentionality in action, not just a random occurrence. Now compare that to the behavior of certain primates who struggle with multi-step puzzles. In many standardized tests, these 42 bird species are actually outperforming monkeys and even some young human children in complex cognitive tasks. This validates your suspicion that there is more going on behind those black eyes than simple hunger. There is a mind at work, calculating the odds and waiting for the perfect moment to strike or solve a problem. According to a report from BBC Wildlife, researchers documented a group of Kia parrots in New Zealand working together to disable predator traps set by humans to protect other endangered species in the area. I've linked the source in the description. The BBC Wildlife footage shows the parrots using stones to trigger the traps safely, then eating the bait without getting caught in the mechanical jaws of the device. This is meta-cognition. They aren't just solving a puzzle. They are recognizing the danger of the mechanism itself and finding a way to bypass it. They are outsmarting our own advanced conservation technology with ease. The data reveals that these birds possess a level of situational awareness that rivals human engineers. They understood the if-then logic of the trap and manipulated it to their own advantage and survival. What I'm about to show you is even more shocking. These parrots weren't just acting on hunger. They were observed doing this for fun, showing a level of cognitive surplus that is extremely rare in nature. On one side, we have humans spending millions on smart traps. On the other, we have birds using simple pebbles to render those millions of dollars completely useless in a matter of seconds and minutes. For the engineers, this is a failure of design. For the birds, this is a game of wits that they are winning every single day. It's a perfect example of the few versus the many. They knew, they ignored the danger, they collapsed the system. This is the same pattern we see in every interaction between human technology and the raw, adaptive intelligence of the natural world and its inhabitants. What makes this dangerous today is the rise of artificial intelligence. We are obsessed with creating silicon-based minds, while we are actively destroying the biological intelligence that has been refined for millions of years of evolution. Right now, the same mechanism of underestimation is happening with AI. We assume we can control it, just as we assumed we could control the birds with our smart traps and mechanical conservation devices. As we speak, the 42 species are adapting to our changing world faster than we can track them. They are learning to live in our cities, eat our food, and exploit our technology for their own gain. The modern application of this research is urgent. If we don't recognize this intelligence now, we will lose the very species that could teach us the most about non-human cognitive processing and resilient survival strategies. The next part is the most important. You need to realize that this isn't just happening in New Zealand or Japan. It's happening in your own backyard every single morning when you wake up and listen. Right now, a blue jay is likely catching thousands of seeds, remembering the exact location of each one with a spatial memory that would put any human GPS system to absolute and total shame. Today, this exact pattern of intelligence is being used to navigate thousands of miles during migration, using quantum receptors in their eyes to see the Earth's magnetic field in real time as they fly. And it's happening faster than our laws can keep up. We still treat these 42 species as property or pests, rather than sentient beings with a high level of cognitive and emotional complexity and depth. Every day this continues, you lose the opportunity to protect a mind that is truly unique. By the time most people realize the truth, the window for conservation will have closed forever on these geniuses. Ask yourself, if a bird can use fire, manufacture tools, and outsmart human traps, what else are they capable of that we haven't even begun to measure or understand with our current scientific tools? The truth is, we are the ones being tested. Our ability to recognize and respect this intelligence is the ultimate measure of our own cognitive and ethical development as a supposedly dominant species on Earth. In theory, we are the most intelligent beings on Earth. In practice, we are often outmaneuvered by creatures with brains the size of a grape. It's a humbling and necessary realization for our future. For the corporate developers, a forest is just timber. For the 42 species, it is a library of knowledge, a social network, and a complex laboratory for problem-solving and cultural evolution across many generations. You are part of this system. Your choices impact their survival. If you ignore the science, you are complicit in the silencing of the most brilliant minds in the animal kingdom and the natural world. This isn't speculation. This is documented policy and biological fact. The birds are outsmarting us because they have to. Their survival depends on being faster and smarter than our destructive and arrogant human tendencies. Same playbook, different players. We are seeing the same struggle for recognition that every marginalized intelligence has faced throughout history. It's time we finally opened our eyes to the truth of avian brilliance. So what should you take from this? First, understand that a bird brain is not an insult. It's a biological marvel of hedonsity, neural processing, and extreme cognitive efficiency that we should honestly envy and study. All sources are linked in the description for your review. Second, realize that intelligence is not a ladder with humans at the top. It's a bush with many different branches of genius evolving simultaneously to solve different problems in the complex and changing natural world. Third, develop a sense of awareness. When you see a bird tomorrow, don't just see a feathered creature. See a problem solver, a tool maker, and a member of a complex, non-human culture with deep history. Before I give you the final thought, you need to see the last piece of the puzzle. This is the evidence that bridges the gap between ancient instinct and modern, calculated intelligence in the sky. Knowledge is the only protection we have against our own arrogance. Once you see the intelligence in the trees, you can't unsee it. It changes your entire relationship with the planet and its inhabitants. This isn't prophecy. This is mathematics. The probability that we are the only intelligent species on Earth is 0. The birds are simply the most visible and accessible proof of that profound biological reality. Human nature is to dominate, but true wisdom is to coexist. We must learn to share the world with the 42 species, or we will find ourselves alone in a silent and empty world. According to the Audubon Society, bird populations have declined by nearly 30% since 1970. We are losing the smartest minds in the sky before we even fully understand how they work or what they know. All sources are linked in the description. The Audubon Society data proves that our current trajectory is unsustainable. For the very creatures that define the health and intelligence of our global ecosystems and environments. Before I give you the final thought, remember that your attention is the first step toward conservation. By watching this, you are already part of the solution to this global crisis of biological ignorance. If this opened your eyes to the genius of the natural world, subscribe because our next video will reveal the hidden language of the deep sea. It is even more shocking than avian firus. What if the most intelligent creatures on Earth don't live on land at all? Subscribe to WildLeadTube if you want to see the evidence that will challenge everything you believe about life and consciousness. Remember the question I asked at the start: can birds really outsmart us? Now you know the answer isn't just yes. It's that they have been doing it for millions of years without us noticing. This isn't about feathers and wings. It's about the universal drive for consciousness to expand and solve the problems of existence. The birds are just one brilliant, feathered example of that universal drive. Remember, animal intelligence verified. Science proves they're smarter than you think. Don't let the background noise of the world drown out the genius that is singing in your backyard every single morning of your life. Until next time, keep your eyes on the sky and your mind open to the impossible. WildLeadTube has the answers, and I will show you exactly where to look for the next breakthrough. Now you see the pattern I mentioned at the start. Same cognitive leaps, 42 different species, a world of intelligence that we are only just beginning to truly map, understand, and hopefully protect. This isn't about birds. It's about the realization that we are not alone in our ability to think, feel, and solve. The sky is full of geniuses, and they are watching us right now.